Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
Yes, we are back for another night here on Beyond the Routine. Emma Spence waiting in the wings along with head gymnastics coach Heather Brink. Should be an excellent episode. I'll throw it over to you, Emma, or Spence, as you're known, to get this thing rolling.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Routine. Before I get started, I just wanted to say happy Canadian Thanksgiving. I know my family is listening from Canada, so shout out to them. Shout out to all the other Canadians. We have quite a few here in Husker Athletics. So, happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So with me here, I have Heather Brink. She is the head coach of the women's Nebraska gymnastics team. So a little bit of, I'll give a little background information of you, and then I'll get you to dive into that.
Perfect.
So Heather is from Lincoln, Nebraska. She competed for the Huskers from 1997 to 2000. She's been the head coach here since 2019, but has coached at Nebraska since 2011.
Yep.
And before this, she was an incredible gymnast here at Nebraska. Some of her stats is 11-time All-American, 2-time national champion in the all-around and on vault. She is the first ever Husker gymnast to score a 10-0. She's won 6 regional titles, 8 conference titles. She was inducted in the University Hall of Fame in 2016. Heather has also had an elite gymnastics career when she represented Team USA in 1993 and 1995. But above all of that, Heather is just an amazing person, a great coach, a great leader, mentor, you name it. Great person. Lucky to have her here and excited to get this started.
Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy whirlwind of a lifetime of gymnastics, but 2 totally different lifestyles to me. Having grown up here in Lincoln for sure is bleed red through and through for sure. But that's me, Heather the gymnast, and then there's Heather me the coach, which is just different life.
Yeah,
lifetime
for
ago.
sure.
Yeah. I grew up here, so I was born here. Right?
Yes.
You said that. Grew up here. I actually grew up in the Highlands. So if anybody's listening from Lincoln, Nebraska, on the north side of town, was the first graduating class from Breachstrom Elementary School. So we went kindergarten through 6th grade there. Yes.
Nice.
Yes. But yeah, started gymnastics when I was 4 at a local club called Nebraska School of Gymnastics under Francis Allen, who at the time was the men's head coach. And then we had several of the ex-Huskers that were actually coaching the club program. So that was a lot of fun. Did club through there until I was about 12. Then I moved away, did the whole elite spectrum of gymnastics. Lived with a host family. So that was a whole nother challenge. And then wanted to come back home, did the recruiting process, went to another school. Saw it. It was good. Just nothing felt like
Not the
home
same.
to me. Right. So then came back here and yes, the 1900s. So 1997 to 2000 was my collegiate career. And then thought I wanted to do a business job, took that, moved away from home again, down to Arizona, lived there I worked a business job for about 3 years and was like, I kind of miss the gym. I'm going to go coach some classes. Started coaching classes. That turned into compulsories. If you know what gymnastics is, it's kind of how you go from recreational classes to the compulsory team program. And then that turned into some optional coaching. And then eventually there was like another gym that had a full-time opening as a coach, and went back to my husband at the time, and he's still my husband. But at that time I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And it was going to be it was a big pay cut to us at the time. And I was like, you think I could do it? And so he's like, yeah, go for it. So I did that, started coaching full-time, optional at a gym called Arizona Sunrays, and then lived there or stayed at that gym for about 3 years before we decided we wanted to start a family. And then went through some challenges in that space. And that really just kind of drove us back here to Nebraska, because he's also from here in Nebraska. And then there was no opening. Like I moved back. I didn't have a job. I was 6 months pregnant. John was doing his thing with his career, and took another business job at Emeritus. I was like, I got to be able to support daycare costs here. So I worked at Emeritus for about 5 years, 2006 to 2011. And then the head coach at the time, who was also my head coach, called me up and said he wanted me to apply for the assistant position. Now, I applied for the assistant position back in 2009, and he told me no. And I was like,
Oh.
I'm not applying for this job for you to tell me no.
Yeah.
So anyways, it worked out to my benefit. So in 2011, took the assistant coaching role, and kind of served under him until 2019 when he retired. So yeah, it's been crazy. A
Mhm.
whole life of gymnastics. I don't know what I would do. You know, it's just been my calling. Is how it's like I've tried it and then it just keeps calling me back. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Cool. Is there like a specific reason why you started gymnastics, or how did you get into it in the first place?
Yeah. Just a lot of energy.
Okay.
Still to this day, I have a hard time
Yes.
sitting still. So my mom and dad were like, we got to get her into something. I did swimming for a really long time.
Okay.
And then I did gymnastics alongside of that. And then through gymnastics, they put me into dance.
Mhm.
Basically got kicked out of dance class every day. So that didn't go so good. So that was an easy decision. And then at some point I had to kind of choose between swimming and gymnastics, and just chose gymnastics. I don't really remember like why
Yeah.
at that time. My guess is that it was probably a little bit more variety of what we were doing, you know, like the flipping and learning new skills. It was always a progression, where in swimming you kind of learn the strokes, you perfect those strokes, but like you don't learn new strokes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's
like
true. That makes sense.
so yeah, so I think that's kind of why I chose it. I was actually not really good. Like I didn't win my first all around title until I was probably like 10 or 11, level 9.
Okay.
I was always good at vault. Like
Mhm.
that was my
That's
easiest
your
event.
thing.
Yeah, that was, I don't know why, just power. Like I was always more the stocky, powerful athlete than the flexible, graceful
Okay.
athlete.
Mhm.
And so I was always better at the leg events.
Mhm.
For that fact, balance beam was not my grace, and was actually quite afraid of it. So I like remember being terrified of learning back handsprings on balance beam.
Me too.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't remember being afraid of a lot of things, but that was one in general. So yeah,
That's crazy because you coached us on beam
I
for so
know.
long.
It's just a product of like where I felt comfortable. I
Mhm.
think for me, like I'm a very visual kind of athlete. Like the physics of everything is easy for me to kind of see. But with balance beam, probably more so because I didn't have to do a lot of spotting.
Oh, that makes sense. But that's crazy because sometimes I don't like beam either.
Yeah.
And like, not that I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to offend you because it was like your event, but I didn't know you felt that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah.
As
Okay.
an athlete, like all the other events are hard physically,
Mhm.
but balance beam is one of the events that's hard, like emotionally or mentally, right? Like the skills you're
Yes.
doing are things you've done since you were, itty bitty, like some of the first skills that we learned. So it was always a challenge to me on how you can teach or grow an athlete on the mental side of things rather than teaching them these big skills. But
That's a good point because even like the routines we do them for so long, we do them so much in practice
Mhm.
before getting to the competition, but then I don't know, every time I'm about to compete on beam, I'm just like, I really wish I didn't do beam right now.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
even when I was on the team, like, because when I competed for the Huskers in 97, I'm trying to remember if I competed all around right away. But beam was the event that I was like, just put me up first. Like,
Mhm.
all 4 years that I was on it, or every time I competed it, just put me up first. I want to get on the event, off the event. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to like stand around and stress about it. I just want to get up and get off the event. And that was like my sweet spot. Everything else I could kind of be able to manage the nerves.
Yeah.
And you can use the nerves a little bit for you on some of the events.
Mhm.
Beam is not one of those
No,
events.
I agree.
You know? Yeah. So the gymnastics piece it's been fun. I mean, it's just been a growth, a lot of connection, club, teammates everywhere. Moving away from home at 12, that was really
At
hard.
12?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that young.
Yeah.
And that was to
I
Oklahoma?
moved to Oklahoma.
Okay.
So my coaches at the time here at Nebraska, one of them who had kind of taken one of our kids at NSG. Her name was Robin Richter. She also competed for Nebraska. Anyway, she took her elite in the club route. And so at that point they'd moved, and she, I guess, how can I say this? Moved to Oklahoma at this gym. And so I kind of followed her. So it wasn't like I had a whole brand new coaching system, because I had already had her most of my time. I tried out at some closer gyms, but back in the day, I don't know how it is in Canada, but back in the day in elite world, now you can like train wherever, and then you meet together and you do these national training camps. Back then there was no national training camps. Like you had
Train
these
together?
satellite gyms,
Okay.
and there was only, a handful of them that trained elite gymnasts. And so
Interesting.
you would just go to one of those
Mhm.
sites. So that was one of the sites. I lived with my coaches for about the first 6 months, which was interesting.
Yep.
Just definitely not home life, right?
Yep.
And I don't think it was ever intended to be a permanent solution. It was just something until they found a host. Moved in with a host family. That didn't work out so well. Came home one day, my stuff was packed up on the porch, and they're like, okay, got to find somewhere else. And my parents
Oh,
are back here,
no.
in Lincoln. And so I had already been carpooling with another family, basically. And so they kind of took me in, and they kind of became my like family away from family kind of thing. So still pretty close to them,
Yeah,
to
that's
this day.
crazy.
So yeah.
So
Yeah.
you went to school there too and everything, right?
I did public school. So a lot
Mhm.
of times elite gymnasts in general sometimes are more homeschooled, because it becomes easier with the training
Mhm.
schedule. We specialize so early. I mean, we were working out 6 to 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
6 days a week. We had one day off. So um I would go to school. Well, we would have morning workout. So I'd get up, go to morning workout. And then we'd go straight from there to school. And I usually would have missed like first period by that time, which
Mhm.
was usually an elective. So I think I was
Yeah.
like office aide or something. And then I'd stay at school and do most of my core classes. So like the English, the science, Spanish, math. Um, I don't know. I think we had to do a history class at one time too.
Mhm.
And I would take those core classes, and then I'd leave school early,
Yep.
and then I'd go back to practice, and then we'd practice till 8, 9 p.m. And then you go home, do homework, kind of do it all over again. So I did stay with the public school. I had to do some not homeschooling, summer school, like
Yeah.
at home, to kind of keep up with it. I actually graduated a year early. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't know if just maybe different standards back then.
I
Back in the 1900s, it could have been a lot different. So
That's impressive though, because that's definitely a lot to balance for a regular person, but then someone like going through like
Mhm.
elementary school on
Mhm.
top of that, training with all the crazy expectations because you were trying to go elite at that point, right?
Yeah. So when I was here in Nebraska, it wasn't levels then.
Mhm.
It was classes. So I went through what is now maybe kind of considered what level 7, level 8 here.
Okay.
And then moved away to try to do the whole elite. I mean,
Elite.
that was the main goal. I was going to do the Olympics. That's what I wanted to do. My parents were trying to make it happen for me, right?
Mhm.
And so I was in middle school. I think I was in 8th grade at the time.
Mhm.
What was probably the biggest challenge in that space is I always like empathize with people that have to change school at that age. Like that was the most awkward
I
age
can
to
imagine.
change schools. Didn't have any friends. I knew nobody,
Mhm.
right? You don't have any time to socialize, because you're basically all your free time's in the gym.
Yep.
So you're not really making friends.
Mhm.
I would go to the library and eat my lunch in the library.
Oh.
And I would be like, I just got to get my homework done, and
Yeah.
do what I need to do so that I could go to practice and not have to do
Yeah.
it when I got home.
Yep.
So I can remember struggling in that space to, really try to find that connection. I mean, obviously I was blessed enough to have teammates and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, but I mean, in the elite world, it's dog eat dog. So
Mhm.
even though you're, their friends and stuff like that, you're still their competition. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like it's hard to fully let your guard down and
Right.
like be close because in the end they are like some of your biggest
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It
that was
worked out
hard.
really well with the family that I lived in. She was younger than I was. So she was
Okay.
kind of a level behind me all the time.
Mhm.
So there was no like head to head competition in that space. So that was pretty beneficial as far as like feeling at home and accepted in that space. But yeah, I mean, I think gymnasts, we just have a whole different lifestyle than what a normal kid may have. I mean, now I have kids of my own, right? So my youngest is 12, going on 13, and I think, God, could I let him move away from home, right? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I was just a product of like, I'm just going to do this because this is what I want to do, and I don't know any different. But I don't know. I mean, nobody practices the amount of hours that gymnasts practice. So
That's true. And you learn so much like discipline and all those things like from such a young age because you have to, which probably impacted, I guess, your mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I
stuff.
just never had, I mean, even to this day, I'll tell the girls on the team, right? I'm like, I'm such a structured person. Like it is
Me
just,
too.
it's very hard for me to be outside of that structure, or when something throws me out of my structure, I can, like, my anxiety will go through the roof, or like I can't remember. I was just talking to somebody today, and I'm like, it's the uncertainty of not knowing how the plan is actually going to go through, right? That can be sometimes challenging. So but my mom has to remind me all the time. She's like, Heather, you are a very structured person. Not everybody's like you, right? But I'm a get up at this time. I do this at this time. I do this at this time. I do that at that time. And so that has just always been how I've been wired,
I agree. I'm the same way. And I think you're right. I think a lot of it does go back to just from such a young age. Like everything is so structured. Every event that you go to, like even just the warm up, the conditioning, the event, the assignment on each event, everything's just been the exact same for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just relying, I mean, it was hard change from being a gymnast to this is why I think I'm so disassociate the two different lifetimes, right? Is I was once the gymnast where somebody told me where to be, when to be there, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how many to do, and then, trying to perfect that side of things. And then you kind of leave that space and you're like, okay, who am I outside of gymnastics? It became very evident to me early on that gymnastics is just a big piece of me. I don't know any different, but I still had to kind of grow up in some of that space of kind of managing. I've got more time on my hands, and what do I like to do, and when do I want to do it, and I don't have to answer to somebody. So holding myself accountable in some spaces can be also a challenge, because I'm like, nobody's there like telling me when to do it and how to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So now me, like I'm going into my senior year, I'm gonna have to figure this out. What was that like? Because like you don't have anyone telling you even how to work out. Like everything's so structured.
I didn't work out, like exercise workout, like hardly at all. Originally, I was kind of like, I don't have to do this. You know what I mean? I did begin to realize like how much of a difference it impacted my mental health, like from a positivity standpoint. But then it became a challenge of when do you get it in, right? Like now, you know what I mean? Now your day kind of revolves around it, but now your day is going to revolve around something else, and then you got to fit in these other pieces that benefit you. So learning to love it. I think the hard part, once I left, was finding the adrenaline rush. Like that's the part that I probably missed the most. And probably what drove me back into coaching is that rush of like, that competition. Like the nerves we're talking about this on Beam, right? The nerves set in, you do a good routine, you get off, and it's like just that immediate body rush of that adrenaline high. It's hard to find that. It's hard to find that replacement.
Yeah. Is there anything that's come close? I know Chris has told me like since he's retired, he's noticed the same thing, and it's just hard to find something that like even comes close.
It's hard from a gymnastics level because nothing will match the gymnastics, right? Like I do think coaching kind of gives me that sense. Hard part is I'm not really in control, right? Like when you're an athlete, you're in control of your own environment. Like when you're competing, it's just you're in control of that event at that one moment. When you're a coach, you don't really control. I mean, you control that, like setting it up for them, but you don't really control them doing it. You know what I mean? But I still do get that adrenaline rush of like knowing that behind the scenes, like how hard somebody worked for something, or maybe struggles they overcame, and then watching them be proud of themselves is pretty cool. But from a competitive standpoint, probably one of the more challenging things I ever did was a sprint triathlon.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, right? So I trained in the middle of winter here in Nebraska. I'd go to Holmes Lake and like ride my bike around there, and then I'd put it in my car and go run. And I did not swim in the lake. I'm not an outdoor swimmer. We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
But yes, it was like the most mentally challenging thing I've ever done. Swimming, I found one that let me swim in a pool. So that was even better. It was in Iowa.
Wow.
So swam my laps, got out, started riding my bike, and I was like, people were passing me. Like, that shouldn't be passing me.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like trying harder and harder. And then I was like, started hyperventilate, and I literally wanted to throw the bike down and have a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially like knowing everything that you did, all the accomplishments that you've had, that these people, most of them probably haven't done anything near that, but they've been training for that.
I watched this one guy swim. So I think we had to swim 12 laps. So I watched him swim, and he couldn't swim the 12 laps without stopping. He was like hanging on the middle, lane divider thing. And then he's passing me on the bike, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, it was just bad. The whole bike experience. So I have yet to do that one. I did a physique competition one time. That was a little crazy, way outside my comfort zone. But that was challenging in a whole nother level of like, how can you peak your body, right? In a certain space. I loved that one.
Yeah. You
really have to have the time for it though. Like the whole meal prep, and like I was eating salmon and green beans for so you really got to be in the right mindset and commit to doing it. Yeah. So,
wow.
Well, great first segment there. We've got more coming along with Emma Spence and Heather Brink after the break on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Hey guys, it's your girl Jordan from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. Gentlemen, it's time to elevate your style with something from our men's jewelry and watch collection. Why not treat yourself to the ultimate in luxury? We've got an incredible selection of pre-owned Rolex watches, even those hard-to-find models you've been dreaming of. Whether you're stepping up your game day look or adding a touch of class to everyday wear, our top-tier collection is sure to impress. Stop by Sartor Heyman and discover the perfect piece to reflect your unique style. Until next time, happy shopping, guys.
NIPCO is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NIPCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NIPCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com. General Fire and Safety has been keeping Lincoln businesses and commercial structures safe for more than 50 years. From a simple fire extinguisher to full fire suppression systems, Lincoln has trusted General Fire and Safety to provide top-of-the-line products, installation, and maintenance. If you're starting a new business in a brand new building, call on General Fire and Safety to help you plan a fire safety system that fits the specific needs of your business, employees, and customers. Call General Fire and Safety today at 402-261-0116.
Midwest Bank is proud to be your local community bank right here in Lincoln. This is Travis with Midwest Bank, now with 2 branches conveniently serving Lincoln and 8 other locations across Nebraska. We're here to help you with any of your needs. From opening a checking account to buying a home or financing your business, our staff is here for you. Stop in and you might see Shin Daddy himself. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Learn more at midwest.bank, member FDIC.
Ryan, with all this red and all these people around, I'm still not seeing the tailgate.
Todd Spidell, former body shop owner, terrible driver.
We're getting close. Now, did you know with 3 locations in Lincoln and hundreds of years of combined technician experience, we can get Husker fans back on the road even quicker and safer after their tailgate mishaps? Oh, Todd, turn left right here.
Left or right?
Left, right here.
Right?
Well, you wait for the tow truck. I'm getting a hot dog.
Well, I guess while I'm waiting. All right! Most recommended! Eustace Body Shop!
Woohoo! Dude, you should be on American Idol.
You really think so?
No.
Accidents happen, even to Husker fans. If it happens to you, call Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
Explain to me again why we're sleeping on the ground.
Because we're thramping. Thrift camping. It's saving us money and getting us closer to nature.
But we don't need to thramp. I just combined our home and auto insurance with our State Farm agent, so we have a rate that fits our budget.
All right. Do you think our agent can bring us an air mattress?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Krekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
An hour ago, you didn't need a plumber. Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Back to Beyond the Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
We're back here on a Sunday night. Heather Brink in studio along with Emma Spence on Beyond the Routine. Just one comment here off of YouTube. Gavin Robinson said, "Hi, Emma, go Big Red."
Go Big Red.
There you go.
So Heather and I have both had somewhat similar experiences in our elite gymnastics careers, and we kind of wanted to get into that. Maybe would you like to just kind of give like a brief about just like your elite career overall?
Yeah. So like we were talking about earlier, I did move away from home to train. Definitely a very big eye-opening experience initially, and just the amount of training that we did with it in that space. There was a group of us. I think we were technically in 2 different groups. Now I can look back in hindsight and see a lot of different things, but my experience in that space, while I can always tell people like I never necessarily regret it, because I don't know if I would have been the athlete or the gymnast I was not having had those other people there to push me. I I would not necessarily call it a positive experience from an emotional or psychological space of just what I went through. And we did definitely connect a lot on that. I think having not had my college experience, like coming into that space, I was not in love with the sport, right?
Mhm.
And then the college kind of retaught me how to re-love the sport at a different level and for
Mhm.
different reasons. Like now
Yeah.
you're doing it for not just yourself also. Like the elite side, you're competing for yourself and only for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even, like, you can compete for your country,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're still competing as an individual, and you're just representing the same country, so it was very yeah, even like we mentioned earlier, the relationships with the teammates, like, they were good, but they weren't really genuine.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely was not like deep. I
Mhm.
had a couple that we could kind of like joke and have a good time. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of more like what I preferred in my environment, but like in the gym, you weren't allowed to really talk and have fun, right? So lucky me, I was always loud if people can't tell on the radio. So I always got caught. I was always the one caught talking or laughing or making jokes or whatever. And then when that would happen, then you'd have to go like run laps or go climb the rope or go weigh in or, whatever it would be that got their attention that day. And so it just kind of got to the point where you just kind of keep taking it.
Yep, and then you almost go into autopilot
Yeah.
because you're so used to it, and it's like everyone else around you is having to go through the same thing. So it's like,
Right.
okay, I guess this is normal. I'm just gonna go on with this.
Yeah.
And then when I got to college, it's just like, oh wait, like this is not normal. This is
Right.
not how gymnastics works. And you just relearn how to do it healthy, properly, being coached properly,
Yeah.
all of those things.
And just kind
Yeah.
of like embracing who you are, right? Like I think when you're going through those experiences at the elite level, again, you're being told what to do, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, how many times to do it.
Mhm.
And so you just kind of get into that autopilot zone of just I don't have to think, right? And then you're just trying to reach their standards
Mhm.
because everything in gymnastics is all about standards, whether it's the judge scoring you, your coach is looking at you in a certain way, or we would be in groups and I like I was telling you, I was not the graceful gymnast. And back in that era, you had to do compulsories and optionals. And compulsories was more about the grace and the flexibility. And I was bad, like really bad. Like I'd go to meets and finish like third to last in compulsories and then compete optionals and then make the national team. So
Yeah.
it we'd get to compulsory workout day and they would just be reaming me a new one and you do splits and they'd put like 50-pound weights on you and I'd be laying there crying and
Yeah.
you just yeah, you just are doing it because you're trying to meet their standard. And I think in college you're trying to now leave that realm of I'm still trying to be perfect in what I do, but I'm doing it within my standard, right? Like you're
Mhm.
taking yourself and kind of perfecting it as opposed to taking yourself and trying to fit it in their box.
Yes, exactly. And then like I've seen that in so many other ways. Like I go about life now that like everything that
Mm,
like
mm,
I do, I feel like it needs to be perfect. And you guys know that. Like even if it's I don't know, my GPA, getting
right.
like my good grades and just everything that I do, I think it's based off of that and being taught that from such a young age. It's
Yeah.
like everything has to be perfect and I have to make um the person that's like in charge of me at the time, like I need to meet their
Yeah.
needs. I need to like earn their respect by being perfect.
Sure. Sure. Well, and
Yeah.
then just like you don't want to be ridiculed,
Exactly.
right? Like
That was a big one.
I know you and I connected on a lot of things in the recruiting process just in the space of we were weighed in quite regularly. You were judged on how you looked, not necessarily just what you could do. And you're trying to fit that box. Like I was never going to be the 88-pound,
Mhm.
slender gymnast who could do splits on both sides.
Yeah.
And it always took a little bit more from me to do that. in hindsight now, I look back and go, had I not had to struggle through that, would have I had as much grit?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? That's why
Yeah.
I go, I never regret the experience because
Mhm.
I still feel like it helped me to be who I am. But
I'd say a lot of character building because even I don't know, the biggest thing, like my freshman year was so eye opening to me because there were just so many things that I thought were normal. And like you just go through that and it's okay. But then you guys helped me unlearn some of those things. And it's more like I learned how to think for myself
yeah, yeah,
instead of like, this is what you're supposed to do. And, like, this is the only way to do it. And if you don't do it, you suck.
yeah.
Pretty much. Like,
Well, and don't you feel like finding pride in who you are as the athlete? Like to me, that's been a big growth for you. And again, sorry, not trying to like divert from my conversation, but for me, watching you kind of learn and take pride in who you are, what you bring to the table, how you do it, like learning your nuances yourself, and then kind of settling to be okay with that, and almost a little bit prideful of it,
mhm.
you know, and that I think has been a big transition, and hopefully one that I hope continues to evolve for you, because the next chapter it becomes another level of that, right? Because you're going to experience things you're not comfortable in,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
In that space. But you know, I think for me it's about getting back to the sport, right? And I know that's an important piece for you. I mean, when you think about all the things that you had to manage in the gymnastics, and here we are at the end of this career and you're leaving the sport physically,
Mhm.
what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge in the adult side of things, or like the real world side of
Yeah.
things?
I think kind of like what I mentioned before, I feel like I need to be perfect at everything I do.
Sorry.
You're good. And I think that does come from like if you weren't perfect and if you didn't satisfy like the person what they wanted from you, you were punished.
Yeah.
And it was either there were many different ways of punishment, I
Sure.
guess.
Sure.
But you were punished for not being perfect. And I apply that to a lot of things still.
Yeah.
I don't try to, but
Yeah.
it's like almost like burned in the back of my head that
Yeah.
like I like there's like this like fear.
Yeah.
If I don't do this, then like so either someone's gonna get mad at me or someone's gonna be upset or I'm gonna hurt someone's feelings. And it's just like I'm constantly aware of how everything that I do impacts like everyone, which is a good thing. But then sometimes I put other people's needs in front of my own because I don't want them to be upset or angry or then take it out on me, which like they shouldn't. But you know,
Right. Yeah.
growing up that way, like it's still in the back of my head and it's still hard to kind of get out of that and I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you manage body image? Like, do you feel like that will be something you carry with you, or?
I mean, it comes in waves.
Yeah.
Definitely a whole lot better than I was when I got here.
Yeah.
Even I put in some work on that probably a couple months leading up to coming here. And then I connected with the nutrition staff here. They were great. Worked on that. There's still ups and downs though. And I
Yeah.
definitely I tell you, because even sometimes when I first got here and we would start on bars and I'd be like, Brian, like I can't. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm too heavy. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, you're too heavy. I was like, we just warmed up. Like, I'm not like, I haven't exercised enough. Like, I'm still too heavy. And he's like, do you know like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that means? And I'm like, well, that's just like kind of like what I was taught. Like, we always did bars at the end because it's like you're the lightest at the end. So bars would be
Okay.
easiest.
Okay.
That was,
Isn't that the craziest
I know.
things, the mind tricks they try to
exactly.
play on you?
So
Yeah.
now I'm like, so for a long time, like probably, and like honestly, it still is in the back of my mind sometimes. Like, oh shoot, we start bars, it might be a little bit harder today.
Yeah.
So there's just things like that it's just the yeah. And I don't know if it's gonna change now, but I don't have to do gymnastics after next
Yeah.
year. Because going about normal life, I'm like I'm fine. Like
Yeah.
I look fine. It's not like I should be like thinking that I'm overweight and all these
Yeah.
things, which at one point I kind of did, which is also crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just gonna be the opposite problem kind of that I had before. It's like I need to make sure that I'm eating enough.
Yeah.
And focus on eating enough, getting all the nutrients in rather than how little
Yeah.
can I eat.
Do you struggle in the perfection side of that?
Mm,
Not as
not as
much.
much. Not as
That's
much.
good. That's good.
Not as
though.
much. Like sometimes even with Lisa, it's like, I don't know, for example, she wants me to eat something before morning lift, but morning lift is at 6:30 a.m. I was like, I can't, like, I'm not going to be able to like, eat breakfast before that.
Sure.
And she's like, well, what do you think you could get down? I was like, probably like a cookie. And she's
Yeah.
like, there you go.
Yeah.
Wake up, eat a cookie, go to lift. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like super specific or
Yeah.
anything as long as I'm like getting
food
in.
nutrition in. Yeah.
And I don't have to like count the calories and do all that like I used to have to either.
Yeah.
Like I used to, count everything, try to eat as little as I could.
Right.
Because
Well,
that was what was required of me
and
at
I
the
think
time.
you wanted to try to hit their side of perfection in it, right? Like when you
Exactly.
think about the weight, like I don't think I have had an eating disorder, but I think I have disordered eating.
Yes.
Right. So similar situation. I thought I just wouldn't eat till after practice. Like
Exactly.
that will keep me the lightest I could possibly be. Right.
Yeah.
I know they're going to weigh me in. If I eat this, it's going to show up. And, like it got to the point where I was like, I know if I eat this is how much more it's going to make me weigh. Right.
Like, like mentally, like, okay, having one egg for breakfast is going to give me like an extra 0.2 to 0.4.
Right.
Like all of it was memorized. And like this hoodie would be this much weight. So like if I weigh myself with the clothes versus without the clothes, it's like, hey, I know how much the clothes weigh.
Yeah.
It's
and then you kind of
crazy.
start stressing about that piece. Then it was just almost like, well, I just won't eat. But then you go home and you're starving, right?
Yep.
So then you almost overeat, or like
that's true.
you're like barely eat because you're trying to get your homework done and go to bed, and then you wake up starving the next day. So
And it was just that cycle.
yeah. I think it's hopefully the league or the realm of gymnastics in general is changing in that space. I think there's more acceptability of different body types, which I think is appropriate within our sport. We talk a lot about uniqueness and how everybody kind of brings their own strengths to the table, that hopefully, they're not just being told about a weight, but how do you fuel your body to do the sport that you love to do, right?
Yeah. And one thing that I think the athletic department or like our nutrition staff does really well is like even just the blind weight checks. Like Lisa won't tell me what my weight is. And like she doesn't really tell anyone. She's just monitoring it for like to make sure we're not like losing too much, basically.
Sure.
Like it's nothing like she's not judging us at all.
Right.
She's like, it doesn't do anything for you. You don't need to know it. I'm just keeping it for my records to track, like in case like injuries happen, like we can kind of check why. But it's just
the sensitivity around it, I think is kind of the challenge to get over. I think even after sport, there are times I'd run into my coaches or teammates and I would be thinking like, what are they thinking of me? Do they think I look fat? Do they think I look good? Do they think I look, there's just a lot of things that I think still kind of played in the back of my mind. And for me, like this is just me personally, I'm not a extroverted person in that space. Like I don't just walk into a party and just, start talking with a bunch of random people. So if I'm already immediately thinking about how they're judging me, it was very easy for me to just not want to show face.
Do you think that is related to the elite experience? Because I feel the same way.
Yeah, I definitely think it was the elite experience because I feel more about that space and the people that were around me in that space than I do in some of my other spaces. So like my college teammates, I don't think like that as much, or, my experience with coworkers or whatever. I don't necessarily think that they think that way, but the elite side was just a whole nother level of intensity and what you kind of had to manage and put up with.
What they thought you did at the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully
When you're talking about cookies, I used to dream
better.
of like ice cream when we would do circuit because I would be like, oh, ice cream sounds so good, right? Like that was the one thing that made me not feel like I wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent conversation between Heather and Emma here. We got time for one more segment. We got to take a break. We'll be back after this.
It's the fall sports season, and that means that the school year is back in session and you're planning road trips for Nebraska football games and following your kids around to their different events. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home so you don't have to worry about your current car struggling through another season. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Lake and find your next ride. As your fall schedule gets busy, you'll need a reliable way to get to your destinations. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I'm proud of my Nebraska roots, and I'm proud to be back home. And at Midwest Bank, they're proud to be your local community bank. They believe in family first, taking initiative, showing integrity, and rolling up their sleeves to support their local communities. They treat everyone like family, no matter where you're from. Whether you walk into a branch in York, Lincoln, Norfolk, or Pierce, you know you're going to be welcomed with a smile. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket. All right, Rico, let's do the final checklist before we head out. We have a lot of people coming to the tailgate today. I'm ready. Burgers? Check. Chips? Check. Icy cold beer? Check. Except this one. I'm forgetting something. Wait a second. Where's the Führer's cheese spread? I can't stop eating it. Rico, relax. I always pack extra. It's the biggest hit of the tailgate.
For the best appetizer, party dip, and tailgate snack, load up on Führer's cheese spread today in most local grocery stores.
Riddle's Jewelry is excited to be celebrating 65 years. 65 years of so many incredible memories celebrating with each of your special moments. In celebration of the 65th Riddle's Jewelry anniversary, we will be offering up to 40% off all engagement rings and all diamond fashion jewelry. The excitement doesn't stop there. Riddle's Jewelry is also offering 18 months, 0% interest and $0 down financing on all qualifying purchases. Riddle's Jewelry has always been known for incredible customer service, one of the largest selections of engagement rings, and don't forget about the on-site jeweler. Come celebrate with us at Riddle's Jewelry, your one-stop diamond shop with exclusive Levian jewelry, Pandora Charm jewelry, and more. All at Riddle's inside Gateway Mall. Mulberry Barbecue by Single Barrel is the answer to all your lunch and dinner cravings. They have everything from smoked turkey sandwiches to brisket burritos to burnt-in sandwiches and pulled pork. Try a dinner plate option of barbecue nachos, a half-smoked chicken, a full slab of ribs, and so much more. Don't forget their great sides like mac and cheese, cheesy potatoes, barbecue beans, or red slaw. Mulberry Barbecue by Single Barrel, open Monday to Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 11th and Cornhusker Highway.
Back to Beyond the Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
One final segment here from Beyond the Routine. Emma Spence in studio with Heather Brink. Let's not waste any more time. I'll throw it right back to you.
So we just finished talking about some of our more, I guess, challenges in the elite side of our careers. Hopefully things start getting better over the next few years. People are being more vocal about it. There's a positive change coming. Looking forward to seeing that. Moving on, I guess. How was your experience representing the U.S.?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because having had made the national team in the club realm of things, ours was more like qualification. Like you showed up to meet and you either qualified or you didn't. Like there's a world championship trials and you either made the team or you didn't. You got that one meet. There was no like selection process. So I think there's some differences on that side of the experience from that space. And then unfortunately for me, I never really traveled in the club side of things because every time I got an assignment, I got injured. And then, but college was different. But I'm kind of curious what you thought of your experience pre-college and after college, having some of those international assignments. And did you feel like that was different?
So I think it's interesting that you guys got selected for like each assignment almost like out of trials. Honestly, I think I would have rathered that.
Really?
I don't know. Usually, like, yeah, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
like the
'Cause
way
you
that
always
I
did
compete.
pretty well. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I usually do better at trials than like, I don't know, not averaging them out, but like,
Right.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
last couple Olympic trials, like, or even just like world championship trials, like all those big competitions usually weren't too bad, but it's the selection criteria that kind of kept me off teams.
Sure.
Like even
Sure.
looking at this Olympic one,
Yeah.
the selection criteria was interesting.
Changing.
Yeah.
Evolving, ever evolving.
Yes.
When you traveled though, did you find that there was differences? Like for me being a college athlete and traveling, representing an international, right? Your federation, it's almost like it took me straight back to the elite club world of
I
things,
see.
right? And then I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm over here on this, like I'm an actual, I think I was 21 at the time, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're going to lock me in my dorms, tell me I have a curfew. And it was very interesting.
Yes, I agree. I think I definitely saw that, but it was more like I was watching it rather than living it
Yeah.
because I recognized that it was not, some of the things were just not okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I just like recognized that like, okay, that's what kind of I used to be like.
Right.
This is what I used to have to do. But after being with you guys competing here, it's like, okay, that doesn't work for me.
Sure.
Or
sure.
I shouldn't be treated that way or
Yeah.
like whatever it may be. I was able to recognize it and then kind of adapt based on that. And
Sure.
then you guys kind of helped me be more confident in my like using my voice. And if I
Yeah.
had something that was bothering me enough, I would usually say like, okay, this isn't what I usually
Right.
do. Is it okay if I did this? And try to compromise it a little bit more. Because it definitely was different going back to it. It felt really weird because
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah.
it's like I was going back to doing it, but I was just like a different person
Sure.
too.
Exactly. Right. Like you've grown and evolved, but the system had.
But the system hasn't. The
Yeah.
people, the coaches were the same. They were
Yeah.
doing the same things. And I was just like watching it. And it's like I was watching it. It
Yeah.
wasn't like I
Well,
was
and all the
in
girls
it.
you were traveling with weren't necessarily exposed to what you had been exposed to here in the
Exactly.
collegiate side
So
of
it was
things.
like,
Yeah.
it was normal. It was
Yeah.
normal for everyone
Yeah.
but me, I
Right.
guess.
Right.
Watching
right.
it was interesting.
Yeah.
But then I still had to do it. But it's like, okay, I'm going to do this my way.
Right.
And the coaches that I were with understood that. And I communicated with them like, okay, I'm not going to train for like 5 hours the day before the competition.
Right.
And just little things like that I was able to communicate with them that I usually would have probably had to
Sure.
do.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just interesting to think about how you evolve without really recognizing the evolvement
Mhm.
until you're forced back into a familiar setting and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm not the same person. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. And it was almost like, I don't know how to word it. Maybe like I was proud of myself.
Sure. Yeah.
It was like,
yeah.
wow, like I've
Stronger
grown
than
a
I think.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes. I've grown a lot. I've healed a lot from
Yeah.
that past experience.
Yeah.
And like I'm not like, I mean, the first competition I definitely was scared being back in that environment, but I was like, no, like
Yeah.
I don't need to be. I'm a strong person. I can stand up for myself and
And you kind of knew what you
recognize
needed.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
question. So, do you have any like words of advice, words of inspiration for either younger girls starting in the sport or struggling in the sport or trying to make elite, trying to make
Yeah.
college where it's struggling? Do you have any advice for them?
I think my biggest advice now being on this side of things, having had all of the life experiences, it took me a long time to realize that there's power in being authentic to yourself. And that you yourself bring something to the room, to the table. So if you're young and just starting out, try to figure out what that is that you're proud of, that makes you who you are, that makes you unique to the sport. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's no other Simone Biles or there's no other Emma Spence or there, you know what I mean? And kind of learn to celebrate those things. I think the other aspect is love what you do.
Mhm.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
It's a grind. It's hard. You got to embrace the bad days too, because that's just part of the process. But just love what you do, because I think if you can find that love, it'll help you through those harder days. I think collegiately, those pursuing the collegiate realm, just dream big, right?
Mhm.
Reach out, do all the things, keep an open mind in the process, and try to find the people that are going to surround you in a space to help you evolve as a person and not, stifle you, or again, like we've been talking about with the elite side of things, make you fit inside their box.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of space for you to kind of flourish in who you are and bring something new to the sport.
Mhm.
You know, and whether that's collegiately, club wise, elite wise, there's just so many positive things that I think unique people, authentic people who love what they do can drive the world.
I really like that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
tonight.
absolutely appreciate it.
Excellent piece of advice to close out the show. Thanks again to everybody for listening. And let's go ahead and wrap this one up. We'll be back next Sunday. Don't go anywhere. Get your happy on hour with Ricky C. Simmons coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.